What's up, historians and fellow dorks? It's here. Innistrad Midnight Hunt just dropped in Arena. And of course, we have some new spicy historic brews to talk about. We'll also review some fascinating tournament results that might surprise you, coming at you right now on this Howl at the Moon episode of Mana Rant. But first, I'm Hoshi, apprentice of Tom Cruise, vanquisher of grammar, mispronouncer of words, so appropriate, and occasional rage quitter. And as always, I'm joined by a man who's raising his own wolf pack, one dog at a time, the human peasant himself. We have Drunken Dork.
What is up, everyone? You couldn't have done that any better. You're like mispronouncers of what are those called? Words. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And hi, everyone.
Yeah. What's up, Dork? And speaking of peasants, our long lost co-host Apollo, he's back. He's back, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. You can do better than that. All right.
There we go. That's nice. Yeah. He doesn't deserve that, though.
No, he does not. All right. Especially because he's not really back. He's kind of back. No. I mean, he's out of boot camp. He survived without even one single heart attack, which is, pretty astounding. I thought they would have had to ambulance him out of there a couple times at least. But so the bad news is he's gone straight to tech school out of boot camp. So he hasn't had a chance to get his gear or any of that stuff yet. So we're working on trying to get him back on the show somehow. So at some point we'll figure it out. But anyways, thank you for joining us. We are the Mana Dorks, a couple of longtime friends / idiots who love Magic and have been playing it most of our lives. And you are listening to the Mana Rant podcast, where we talk about everything in Magic the Gathering, but mainly focus on the historic format. Our show segments move through the phases of Magic, with our main phases being the main show topics. Time hacks, as well as a full breakdown of the episode description, are in the description below. Now, let's just jump straight into the show with our Untap phase.
Untap.
And Untap is where we untap some drinks. So, Drunken Dork, what are you untapping this week?
So video blog week 4, I believe. Still drinking beer out of this kegerator back here. And oh my God, I was telling Hoshi in pre-production that last night I was editing the new intro. I hope y'all like it. It took me way too long because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I like it.
And I was just like beer after beer while I was editing. And it got to a point where I just had to stop myself because I could barely see what I was doing. And I was just doing horrible edits. I was like adding stuff in that was I was like, ooh, 3D fucking, I'm going to turn the camera this way, then this way. And it just looked ridiculous, So I had to pull a whole bunch of shit out and take it back a step. Sometimes, you need a nuance like the edits a little bit to make it look a little better. And anyway, to what I'm drinking beer out of the whatever that's called, kegerator. And I got a dark lager today.
Oh,
I
nice.
Tapped a keg. I finished one off, so I just put a new keg in there, and it's dark lager. It's really good.
Hell yeah. Hey, that sounds awesome. So look at this thing that I'm drinking today. This is
the fuck is that?
It's like a.
Is that popcorn?
No,
what is that?
No, it's a. Oops, I dripped some of it. It's a syrup and whipped cream on top with some shavings. It's a shake. Basically, it's a boozy shake.
That sounds delicious.
With whiskey and chocolate liqueur in there and some other stuff that I cannot remember. So let's try it out.
Going with the metal straw too.
Mm-hmm.
eco-friendly Houston.
I care about
Hoshi.
I care about the environment.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is
You
so
sure
good.
do.
That is dangerous right there. This is gonna get me in trouble.
I'm actually jealous for once. That sounds really good.
It is. All right. So let's move on to our upkeep. Upkeep, get ya upkeep. Woo. All right, so Upkeep is our Reddit rant segment where we look to the internet for people ranting and raving about Magic the Gathering. And man, this week has been there's a lot going on. But this one, you know what? I ignored a lot of the Tybalt trickery nonsense, even though I really wanted to do a Reddit rant on some of those because they were pretty funny. But this guy, I think he's onto something. It's like he was speaking to me. So let's hop over to Reddit this week, and this is in the MTG Arena Reddit. And right here we have I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because you know how I do. So
LG Estella.
There we go. All right, so his post is going first or not. I'm sure we've all had experiences like this, but it's been particularly brutal lately. I've played for about 3 hours today. Fridays are great. And I went first a grand total of 4 times. To make matters worse, I couldn't even keep a single hand when I did go first. Since I like to play aggro, that can be devastating. I'd like to just tell him that having to mulligan, no matter if you're playing aggro or not, it's always devastating to mulligan. Yesterday was pretty much the same. I think over the past week, I've gone first about 30% of the time. It really does make you wonder. Anyone else going through a bad streak of going second? Given how fast Arena is getting, going second can end up being a death sentence. Bum, bum, bum. So Drunken, what do you think? Have you been going second 30% of the time?
I don't think so. I mean, not enough where I'm gonna make a crybaby post about it. But that sucks, man. It happens. Arena it's got a crappy RNG, right? Like a real crappy one. I feel like
brutal.
Sometimes it just feels that way. I wonder if it's actually happening though, because I record my games now. Like I do that pretty regularly, and like what I think. When I think I'm getting bad luck or something, I actually go back and I look at my games and I'm like, oh no, I'm just a shitty Magic player. That's all it is. I have to wonder, but
the comments were brutal on this one. So this guy got tore apart. He's minus so many fake internet points right now from this post.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, people are just, and anyone that commented basically about, I've been going second a lot too, just torn apart in this thing. Like confirmation bias is a hell of a drug. All these people are saying this stuff. And I think a lot of people are being ridiculous on this, but at the same point, because I've thought this plenty of times too throughout playing Arena, and it's just something that's funny about us as humans is that when something is good, we don't really remember it very well, because it just fades us into the past. But when something bad happens, like you go in second, like you remember that. It's like, from back in our survival instinct days, if something bad happened, we would die. So like going second, we lose at the game most of the time. So you remember every time you go second, it's like burned into your memory. So I think it feels like you go second a lot more than you actually do. But there definitely are days where I've tracked it and, I've gone like first, 1 out of 10 games or something. But it's like, I brutally remember those because, sometimes it does happen. I don't think I ever remember going first more than I've gone second because I think that's just how humans' memory works. But I thought I would just put that out there as a PSA. You might just be remembering the bad times more than the good out there. So, anyways. Anything else on Reddit Rant Drunken Dork?
No, love it. Good one. I really like the comments. The comments are always the greatest in anything on the internet.
I know people were fighting in this one real bad. Anyways,
good.
If you guys find a Mana Rant or a Reddit Rant out there that you guys think would be great, send it our way. And with that, we'll go into our draw phase. Let's draw. And draw is where we talk about what we've been playing this week. So, Drunken, what have you been playing?
So, the video will show you. I've been actually playing quite a few different things this week. I want to shout out to S'mores and Bacon. He posted that crazy ass dragon shaman deck that I tried it, and it is a glass cannon. It makes me think that you would like it, Hoshi, because it's to me it feels like a better shaman's deck, because that shaman's deck is just trying to get like value, really quick value, right?
Yeah,
and
sometimes
like spit out things and like get it out there, and when it hits hard, right? And that's exactly how this deck was. It was like turn 2, I was hitting for like 16 and getting 20 treasures. It was crazy.
That's insane.
But the deck that you're seeing right now on our stream, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or unfortunately if you're listening you can't hear, or you can't see it, you can only hear. I'm playing Abzan Enchantress, which is an upgraded version from my Selesnya Enchantress deck. And I basically did this for best of 3, because Selesnya Enchantress, it just doesn't do as well in best of 3. The sideboard options aren't there. Whereas Abzan Enchantress, there's a lot of cards in there. And there's actually this really funny card that I grabbed and I put in my sideboard, which is it's a curse. And it has been doing the work for me. So it's 1 in a black. I don't know what it's called. And you curse an opponent. And it basically says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your opponent's control, it deals 1 damage to them and you gain 1 life. So it becomes such a slow and grindy win, but it works really well against a lot of decks.
Yeah.
Like creature heavy decks are really big in the meta, especially in best of 3. You see a lot of elves and you see a lot of Gruul aggro, and it just really punishes them, especially because I also have the card that that 1 mana enchantment that you love, Hoshi. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, they enter tapped.
Authority of the consoles.
Gain 1 life.
Yeah, that's great.
And like together, it's just like it's so slow, but it just like it works, and so I've been having a lot of success with Abzan Enchantress. And then another thing I've been playing, which we're going to talk about decks later, is I've been playing this new spicy brew that is Esper Reanimator. And with the release of Innistrad, there's like quite a few different cards in there that really accelerate Esper into the graveyard. And it's a super fun deck. I don't know how viable it is in the format, because there's a whole bunch of graveyard hate, and this is a best of 3 deck. So there's definitely a bunch of graveyard hate in the sideboard.
Yeah.
So I've definitely ran into that while I've been playing. But I have been climbing the ladder in it with it, and having a lot of fun, being able to cast a Elish Norn on turn 3
nice.
Seems pretty freaking sweet, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's real good against elves.
Yeah, it's great against elves. And then, or also that new angel that gives you protection. Like that's another one that I've been using a lot. And
nice. Yeah, that card's real good too.
Yeah, it turns into a really fun deck, and the sideboard's great. Once again, you have black. I think black is probably the single best sideboard color you can have. And then you have blue and white. Like I have Dovin's counter, whatever the fuck it's called.
Dovin's Veto?
The counter. Yeah, Dovin's Veto in my sideboard. I have 4 of those, 4 Thoughtseize. So it's just, it's turned out to be pretty good in the ladder.
Nice.
Actually.
Yeah, I see you got the Faithful Mending in there. That's a pretty sweet card. It seems to fit in there perfectly, right? That's cool, man.
I've been having a lot of fun though. I think things have been shaking up so much that it has been the Wild West longer than Historic has ever been the Wild West. Like the period of time. Usually things are figured out like that. But
yeah, it's been
like in best of 1, you see a shit ton of Tybalt's Trickery, and that's fine. You can get past it. Dragons can beat the shit out of Tybalt's Trickery for sure.
Yeah.
But like best of 3, I'm constantly seeing different decks, and I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I haven't been seeing that much trickery recently. But I mean, you get those slews of running into it, like, like 7 times in a row, and you're like, what's going on? And then, you'll start playing some hate against it, and then it's gone. You'll never see it again. But yeah, this deck looks really cool. But we're going to talk about that one in, our main phase anyways. So, so this week I've been playing around with a couple things. I was playing around with zombies, trying to get those ready. And they suck. So I mean, maybe I'll talk about it in main phase. But the thing that I've been really cultivating this week has been this Selesnya counters deck. And oh man, it's great. It's so fun. I'm surprised. I took one of the ones that we were looking at, the Scales deck, and then I added Collected Company to it because it wasn't in there. And I really was not super impressed by Collected Company's ability to help out the deck that much. So what I did, which is surprising, right? I thought it would be better. So what I did was I took out Collected Company, and I put in some Planeswalkers instead. I put in Ajani, the one that puts on 2 counters. And then I put in the Vivian Reed, the one that puts on 2 counters as well, and she lets you fight something. And the interesting thing about those 2 Planeswalkers is they do exactly what this deck wants to do. They put counters on there, obviously, but then the Ajani, it has a minus where you can get something out of your 2-cost. 2 CMC out of your graveyard back to the battlefield, and then his emblem is crazy, of course, which is great. It gives you some recursion, and there's a lot of 2-drops in this deck, and they get big super quick. So then the Vivian, she also has a thing where you can pull a creature out of your sideboard. So both of them are putting counters on, and they're both getting you creatures back. So it's really good against a lot of decks. I think the only deck that I really had problems with against it was Elves, because Elves could go real wide real quick, and some of the combo decks are difficult. But there's good hate in this deck too, because I'm using some of the humans that are pretty good, and I have Scavenging Ooze in here, which is crazy. Scavenging Ooze is insane with Hardened Scales as well, because he gets counters on him too. So you're eating stuff, gaining life, and Scavenging Ooze is getting gigantic. It's it's awesome. It's just a really fun deck, and it has a lot of utility to it, which is what I really enjoy about decks is being able to play with them and do a lot of different things instead of just combo decks get boring sometimes. It's I'm just trying to get the 3 cards out, and then yay, I did the combo. I don't know, it's kind of not as satisfying to me as a lot of utility and having to think things out, and this deck is just full of that. So
I agree. I definitely I haven't played this deck, but this deck looks really fun. And I've definitely ran into similar decks to this, Hardened Scale style decks, and they're hard. They can be really, really hard to deal with. And it's funny you said you put a Planeswalkers in your deck, because I can't remember the last time I built a 60 card deck that I used Planeswalkers. I haven't used them in a long time in a deck, and
me either.
They're great. I mean, they can be great, right? Just sometimes in our format, they seem a little slow. So that's the only thing. But, on turn 4, if you have creatures on the battlefield, Ajani is a great Planeswalker to have.
It's so weird because Avenger, Adversary of Tyrants is the Ajani that I'm talking about. He's a 4-drop. And I have not played him since I think he came out. And when I was building this deck, I was just trying to think of something, which sucks because I love Collected Company. So to come out with, to take that out to put in a Ajani Adversary of Tyrants felt super weird to do, but it worked out beautifully. So, but the Planeswalkers have been great. Oh, and of course, when you're building creatures this big, the other thing that you have to put in this deck is the Great Henge, because
I try and put that in as many decks as I possibly can, because that card's a fucking beast, man. I love that card.
Insane. It just works perfectly in this deck too.
I'm sure it does. You got a big old beefy, 4-5 power fucking 1/1, you know what I mean? Like with all the counters on it, and then that card only costs you 4, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, or it costs you 3 or 2 maybe, and then you draw cards off of it. Oh, it's so good. I love it. So this deck has just been a ton of fun, and now I'm kind of sad that it we're entering a new meta now. We're starting a new meta. We're playing some new decks, and I think my new deck that I'm doing is adapted from this one actually. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. Anything else? Drunken?
Nope.
No? Cool. Well, with that then, let's go into our main phase.
Main phase 1.
And main phase 1 this week, we're going to be talking about these new spicy decks that we've come up with. Some of these we have sourced from our Discord. We have some awesome people on our Discord, and they come up with cool stuff. And so our first one is from Jacavio, or Japalo as he's now been called recently. So, and let's take a look at this. This is a 80 card human deck with Yorion as its companion. And this looks pretty crazy. What do you think about this one, Drunken?
Yeah, I really like it. So when we were talking about like the episode, before we did this episode, we were like, oh, what are we going to do? And we're like, oh, let's build some new decks, or you said it. And it's like, cool. I was originally thinking about doing something like this because I like the idea of white weenies. And, there's some solid cards coming into the set, like that Jacavio put in here, like Sun Gold Sentinel, which is one of my top 5 picks. And, something like that doesn't fit in every deck, but it fits really well in a deck like this. And should I just go through the deck list?
Yeah. It's a lot of 4s, so you should be able to burn through it. Yeah.
All right. So he's got 4 Esper Sentinel, which is just an amazing card. 4 Thraben Inspector, Thraben, however you say it, Inspector, 3 Dauntless Bodyguard, 1 Giant Killer. This is a fucking card, a weird card you don't see too often, but it seems good. It seems relevant.
It's useful sometimes, for sure.
4 Thalia's Lieutenant, 4 Thalia Guardian of Thraben, 4 Intrepid Adversary.
Nice, good job.
Adversary, yeah. This is a new card.
Yeah.
This is one of the I think they were all called adversaries.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So this one is pretty sweet. It's when Intrepid Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a white any number of times. When you pay the cost 1 or more times, put that many what does that say? Valor counters on Intrepid Adversary. And then creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Valor counter on Intrepid Adversary. So this is really good. This is like good in the beginning. It's like decent in the beginning. It's even better in the mid. And it's like just something to dump your mana in the end.
Yeah.
It's a game winning card, turn 5 or 6, you turn 6, I guess you can come out with 2 counters, pump all your guys +2/+2, swing in, and hopefully get the win. Plus, it's a 3/1 with lifelink, which is great.
Yeah.
And then we have Sun Gold Sentinel. We got 4 of those, which I already said I love that card. Elise Spellbinder, because if you're running white, you should be running. If you're running white, you're running creatures, you should be running this card.
Absolutely.
And then 4 Ranger Captain of Eos. 4 Skyclave Apparition, same as Elise Spellbinder. This card is just a necessity in any deck that runs white and is creature heavy. I don't think removal gets much better than this card in our format, just because it's any permanent that's 4 mana 4 or less, mana value 4 or less. Card's so good. And then finally we have Search Party Captain, which is also a new card, and it says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you attacked with this turn. It is a 2/2, and when Search Party Captain enters the battlefield, draw a card. So it's basically a card draw card for mono white, which is nice. And you're attacking in almost every time. So yeah, I really like this deck. It seems super fun to play. I'm going to try it out. I don't know if I want to spend the wild cards yet, or trying to acquire some more cards through opening packs and stuff, and then maybe get it What do you think?
Yeah, I like it, and again, most of these I have already. There's a couple that I'm missing. The Intrepid Adversary is pretty cool. I ended up taking it out of my deck. I'll talk about that later, but it's really awesome to be able to dump it in the late game. Thalia's in here. It doesn't seem like she's being disrupted. Night Ranger, Captain of Eos is crazy. Being able to grab the bodyguards and the Esper Sentinel or that one giant killer, right? You might need him, and then you know the Ranger just is able to pull him out too. So
good point.
It's great. Humans has so much utility in it too, and then just having Yorion in here is nice too. You could bounce like Thalia's Lieutenant or something like that, or the Thrabrand Inspector or whatever the hell it's called. So there's just a ton of like different stuff that works really well in here.
I forgot to even mention that. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, right, crazy. Cool. All right, well then let's move on to the next deck, and this one is by S'mores and Bacon, and so this is some crazy Jund stuff that he has been talking about. So let's take a look at this. He's got 2 Fatal Push, 2 Inquisition of Kozilek, 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Bloodthirsty Adversary, which is one of the new adversaries that came out. This is a red one, which is insane. He's got 3 Chevels, Bane of Monsters, 2 Eliminates, 2 Infernal Grasps, which is the new kill spell where you pay 2 life. It's insane. The pay 2 life is the only downside of this thing, but real crazy. 4 Scavenging Ooze, 4 Bone Crusher Giants, 4 Inscriptions of Ruins, through 2 K commands, and then 2 of the new Planeswalker, Arlen, the Pax Hope, which seems like a pretty solid Planeswalker. Chandra, Hope of Defiance, which is another super solid Planeswalker, and that looks like it. And he's got a full sideboard built out too, which I'm not going to go into, but what do you think about this one, Drunken?
I really like this. So Jund is like my bread and butter. Like I love the style of mid-range grindy decks that are just about punishing your opponents and like getting rid of their board and like hitting in, mid to late game with some, in this case, some random ass creatures. I really like the idea of having Arlen in here because when you have like a Planeswalker, like this isn't Planeswalker heavy deck, but when you have like multiple Planeswalkers, the Daybound and Nightbound seem like more doable, right? Especially with instants and sorceries. So yeah, I think this is really good. I'm not a big fan of the mana base, but that's only because it's a little greedy, and I've been seeing a lot more land hate recently, like way more often recently. So like I definitely would put in a couple of basic lands, a few basic lands in there, but besides that, this is a sweet ass deck, and I pretty much have every card in here, so I am definitely going to try it when I get a chance, like probably tonight after the show.
Yeah, it looks good. There's so much control in this deck, and then there's he's got Shovel and all these things that are gonna get value out of that control. He's got Bloodthirsty Adversary to get that control out of his graveyard again and be able to play it in the late game. The Planeswalkers also like diversify the threats that you have too, making it harder to deal with like the creatures and everything else going on. So I think this is awesome. It's really good. Scavenging Ooze I'm a huge fan of. So it's all over the place, this deck, but I think it comes together to be a deck that's probably a giant pain in the ass to play against. They're hitting your hand, hitting your creatures, hitting your graveyard. You're getting hit from everywhere by this deck. This is a super aggressive on all all angles deck.
This is what mid-range is. When I think of mid-range, this is like the epitome of what a mid-range deck is, and I really like it. I really like those styles.
I think it's great, and we'll see if we can tune this thing at all and make it something a little more threatening. So now let's go into your deck, Drunken. What do you got for us?
So I kind of already talked about it. This is a Esper Reanimator deck. I'm always trying to make those Reanimator decks. I fucking love them. Working out of the graveyard is like one of my favorite things to do. And with the release of this new set, we got some new flashback cards, which are great for graveyard, and also a new mechanic called Disturb, which is, seems to be pretty good for the graveyard. So like any Reanimator deck, usually they have green and not blue, but like I said, this new set is good. So I got 4 Stitcher Supplier. Y'all know that. 4 Consider, which is a newer card. And that is an instant for 1 blue mana. It says, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard, then draw a card. Pretty sweet, especially because it's an instant speed. Yep. I got 3 Priest of Fell Rites, which is a Reanimator spell that has Unearth, so I can cast it out of my graveyard. 4 Mire Triton. I fucking love this card. Gaining the life is really important, especially with the meta in best of 3. You run across a lot of aggro. Like I said, a lot of Gruul, a lot of elves. Gaining the life, having Death Touch is really good because a lot of people just play poorly into Death Touch. So they're afraid to attack you when they should just be going all in, Yeah,
absolutely.
And then I got this is a new card, Devoted Graph Keeper. It's just an uncommon. It's white and a blue, and it says when Devoted Graph Keeper enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards. So this is another mill card. Yeah. And it says whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, tap target creature you don't control. That can also be really helpful because you are casting things from your graveyard. And then that's not it. It has Disturb. So the Disturb is you can cast it out of your graveyard for 4 mana, 2 and a white and a blue. It's a flying 3/1. And it can only block creatures with flying. That's it. I mean, it's nothing that big. I more have it for the other side, just for milling myself, and then for later in the game, I can just cast it as a 3/1. Sure. Then I have this is another one. This is one of the ones you picked. 4 Faithful Mending. Yeah. And this card is great. You gain 2 life. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, and it has flashback for 1 white and a blue. Once again, the life gain is super important for aggro decks. And the ability to get the cards out of your hand that you don't want in your hand, like you want to put cards in your graveyard, is also really good. Oh, yeah. So you needed something like that. Generally you're running red or, to get cards out of your hand, but this is a great way. Then I have 4 Skyclave Apparition because I have no problem reanimating this card. It may only be a 3 mana card, but it's just so good. Yeah, like I said before, removal doesn't get much more premium than this. No. 4 Unburial Rites, of course. And then here is my big creatures that I put in my graveyard. It's Cavalier of Night. I have 1 of those. Love it. 3 Elish Norn and 2 Sarah Emissary. And that's the whole thing. I have a whole bunch of lands here. And my sideboard, I have 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Dovin's Veto, 3 Leyline, 3 Leyline of the Void, 2 Leyline of Sanctity, which I'm going to take out, and 2 Doomscar. The Leyline of Sanctity I'm going to change out for Pithing Needle. Oh, nice. Yeah, Pithing Needle is going to be sweet. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, dude, this looks like a lot of fun. I really like Consider. I think is great for this. It's amazing like how much like stuff you can throw into the graveyard with this without having to rely on red or Faithless Looting. Yeah, or Faithless Looting or any of that. So just being able to do it in these colors are great for it, I feel like. So the Cavalier I haven't seen in a while. That's a fun card. It's super good for like when it dies, being able to bring something else back too. The lifelink is super relevant. Yeah. Looks pretty fun, dude. It can bring back what I like is it can bring back like a Priest of Fell Rites, so I can reanimate something else. Yeah. Or a Mire Triton, or even better, Skyclave Apparition, right? I can bring that back and like 2 for 1 of them. Might as well, right? And it's pretty good. Yeah, and then having 7 different ways to reanimate stuff is pretty good too. So nice. I like it. Any last words on this one? No, I've just been having a lot of fun. And if you have the wild cards, you should try it out. I don't think it's actually that many. These big old beefy dudes are pretty heavy wild cards, but everything else I think is pretty much common and uncommon. Yeah, it doesn't look too crazy. And you should probably already have Skyclave Apparition in there, which looks like one of the only new ones. The Cavalier, you could replace that with something else if you really don't like that one. The Unburial Rites is uncommon. Yeah, it's pretty much just the Elish Norn and the Sarah Emissary after that. Yeah. And maybe the Priest of Fell Rites, you probably need those for this. But other than that, man, yeah. This is surprisingly light, for a Reanimator deck on rare. So
Pretty sweet, dude. I like it.
Cool.
All right, so we'll move on to me
let's
now.
See your deck.
All right, so I once again went into Selesnya. I was kind of inspired by my counters deck that I've been playing this week. I've really enjoyed playing that deck. So humans are huge in this new set. There's a lot of cool new humans and a lot of utility that they're bringing. So I want to play humans, and Selesnya is great, and I want to play them in Selesnya. So I threw Hardened Scales into this. So here's what I got going. I got 3 Dauntless Bodyguards, 2 Esper Sentinels, 4 copies of Hardened Scales, 2 Cathar Commando, 1 Dranith Magistrate, 4 Luminarch Aspirants, 2 of those Gold Sentinels, and then 4 Thalia's Lieutenants. I got 1 of that Adeline, the new legendary creature that came in. I got 4 Brutal Cathars, 3 Elite Spellbinders, 3 Ranger Captain of Eos, 1 Sigarda Light, or Champion of Light, and 2 Great Henges. So the whole idea behind this is that, the humans have a lot of, variable stuff that they're doing here. Like the Dauntless Bodyguard, you could sack to save your guys. Esper Sentinel is just amazing in so many matchups. But the Hardened Scales, there's a lot of things in here that actually give you counters. So I have the 4 Luminarch Aspirants and then 4 Thalia's Lieutenants. So if I have a Hardened Scales down and 1 Thalia's Lieutenant comes down, boom, boom. Everything is getting 2 counters on it right there, which can be just massive, So I got 8 things in this deck that, then I have the Great Henge too, 2 of those. So all of those things are putting counters on your humans, making these humans just massive. And there's a lot of utility, I think, in these. The new one that I really like is the Brutal Cathar. It's a not as good version of Skyclave Apparition, but the good thing about this one is when you switch to day and night, it can exile another creature with it. So it's like the Banisher Priest, except it can hit multiple creatures with one guy. So I think it's insane. It's crazy that I didn't put Collected Company in this deck. I feel like you could switch that out for Hardened Scales if you wanted to, and maybe the Henge or Sigarda. But I feel like it could work really well in this deck, and it's a 1-drop, so it's really easy to get down there in the beginning of the game and start pumping your guys up. But what do you think about this one, Drunken?
Yeah, it looks really good. I think Sun Gold works well in something like this because you can pump it up and then you can give it hexproof.
Yep.
And then you can attack in and say you're playing against elves, all they have is green, so you can just attack through their creatures if you wanted,
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of that. I think I do think that Brutal Cathar is not as good as the other one, but being able to exile stuff. Yeah, Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, but still, regardless, maybe have them both in here, or is it just because Skyclave isn't a human?
Yeah, that's mainly why. I'm trying to get as much like human pressure as I can down. That was a tough decision. I have it in the sideboard, but it was just really hard to, I want to just stick with it. And then if I run into some problems, so what I did to make up for the loss of Skyclave Apparition was Cathar Commando, which is a pretty sweet new human. It's a common. It's a 3/1 with flash. And it has pay 1 colorless, and you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, which I think is really good, actually, because it's human, it's got flash, it can destroy an artifact or enchantment, so that's to make up for Skyclave being gone. The other thing that I thought was cool is Luminarch Aspirant can put counters like individually on one thing, so you can diversify the counters to enable that that new mechanic. What is it called? The one that's on the Sun Gold, the
Coven.
Yeah, the Coven. Yeah, exactly, because that is triggered by the power of your creature. Like, so 3 of them have to have different, power and toughness. Their power has to be different. So you can enable that pretty easily with Luminarch Aspirant by making all of their powers different if they even, if they match up. So I'm really excited to play this deck. I'm missing a couple rares to pump this. This thing's full of rares. So unlike yours, This thing is this thing is almost all rares. Looking at it right now, holy crap! I didn't even notice. This is a Gucci
but
deck.
your mana base isn't though. You know, you like my mana base is almost all rares. I mean, I guess a lot of yours is as well, but
that's true.
You're missing something super important here.
What's that?
You're missing the White Castle, man. You should definitely have that in here.
Yeah, I think maybe one of those would fit well in here. I don't want to go too much.
Does it make a human or just a soldier?
It does make it does make a human, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. Oof, man, that's a tough.
Yeah. You should have 2 of them in there.
Yeah. Oh, 2.
I mean, it's not that taxing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this deck wants to hit the ground running pretty fast, so you can get some pretty brutal like opening hands that could just end the game for you. You know, having all tap lands. I've even had that happen with this mana base that I have right now because of the pathways and the the buddy lands. So it can happen where you end up getting screwed out of those. But
the castle's such good value, especially if they wipe the board later in the game. It's like sometimes it's just the thing you need to finish it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this was mine. I was pretty excited about playing, and then we've been making pretty good speed. So let's just talk about this real quick. I was really excited to make a zombie deck.
Oh my
god!
And
it sucks. I don't want to make this. Just looking at like all the utility that all these other tribes have right now, like the humans, the merfolk, the elves and all that stuff. And then you look at zombies, and zombies is such like an iconic deck in Magic. And I'm really sad at the lack of just, utility that they have. Their lords suck. They're all 3 mana lords, where all the other decks have 2 mana lords or something, It's just like, I really wanted to use Champion of the Parish, but I would, I've been racking my brain over this all week, and I would suggest that, people do not craft it. Do not try and make this deck. I don't think it's going to be very good. I mean, that's just my opinion. What do you think? Do you think that zombies will be? Yeah, I mean,
you suggested it to me, right? When we were talking about it, you're like, you should make a zombie deck. And I was like, because I have been building around zombies since Historic started, even in Standard, and like it has never been good. Like I said, it's always been like tier 3 or something like that. Maybe it moved up to tier 2 now, but it's still so slow. Yeah. Right. Like I don't think they're like what zombies are really good at. Like when you look at old Magic, is just being able to reanimate themselves. Right. Yeah. Like being able to manipulate the graveyard and like go in, come out, like deal, mitigate life. With like, entering the battlefield effects and stuff like that. Yeah. And we just don't have that in our format, unfortunately.
They don't even do that well in our format. I've been looking all week trying to make this thing work, and I'm I gave up. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna work. I was trying like maybe Collected Company will fix it, and just no, I don't think it's gonna work. So all right, well. With that sad note at the end there, rip zombies. We will go to combat.
Dorkish combat.
Looks like Drunken is quickly filling up his beer.
Excuse me while I pour myself a beer. Got to prepare for combat. Got to like prepare for this 20th loss so far.
Take it away, Drunken.
All right, everyone. This is the Horseshit Card Game. This is a game where I name 5 Magic cards. 4 of them are from our beloved historic format. 1 of them isn't. And it's up to this drunken idiot and all you idiots out there to figure out which one that is. But it turns out I'm actually the idiot because I always lose. Like every week. It's very it's very depressing.
You got one a couple weeks ago, I think.
All right, Hoshi.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to start it off with Spined Carrick. It is 2 and a green for a creature crocodile, and it is a 2/4. The next one is Territorial Boar. It is 1 and a green for a creature boar. It says whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, Territorial Boar gets +1/+1 and gains vigilance until end of turn, and it is a 2/2. Next one is Bellowing Elk. It is 3 and a green for a creature elk. As long as you had another creature enter the battlefield under your control this turn, Bellowing Elk has trample and indestructible. It is a 4/2. The fourth one is Wishcoin Crab. It is 3 and a blue for a crab, and it is a 2/5. That's all. And then finally, we have Scalding Cauldron. It is 1 colorless mana for an artifact, and I didn't take out the symbol, but whatever. And it has 3 colorless tap. Sacrifice Scalding Cauldron. It deals 3 damage to target creature. Well, that's a bust right there.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one I was already like, oh, I recognize that one. So pretty recent.
I recognize that mana symbol.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty familiar. Or that, yeah, set symbol. And then the Territorial Boar. I'm pretty sure I've seen that too. Now the other 3 is where I am, I'm not super confident on any of these 3 right now. The Spined Karok or whatever, the crocodile one, I don't know. That one, man, Wither Bloom Chef, I don't know what's going on there. The elk, I know there's a lot of elks in historic, so that's a good possibility. Maybe that one's in there. This crab looks real dumb.
Sure does.
There's a bunch of crabs.
2/5 for 4 is pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, I don't know why I would ever look at that. But then there's a bunch of stupid crabs in historic too. So this is really tough. I'm gonna have to just do a cross. I think maybe I've seen the croc. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the stupid crab. I think, yeah. This one's a tough one. I'm pretty much just I hate the crab. I'm going with the crab. I don't like it, so I'm gonna.
All right,
bet on
Wishcoin Crab. Final answer.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, Hoshi, you fucking loser! You got it wrong this week. Yeah.
Oh, was it the croc? It was the croc, wasn't it?
No, it's not. It's Bellowing Elk.
Oh, wow. I was way off. Okay. Yeah.
Bellowing Elk is from like Modern Horizons 1 or 2.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, but not in Historic.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a pretty good limited card, trample and indestructible.
Yeah, it seems like a great limited card. Yeah, for sure.
I don't think I would main board it,
but
pretty good.
Yeah,
nice.
I got it right. Ooh.
You did.
Ooh.
You did. Good job, dude.
Do I get applause or anything?
No,
a victory song?
I tried to, but it's broken. I think the computer just.
Of course it is.
The computer did.
Of course it is.
All right, but we'll give one of these from.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh no, I lost. I hate it. I hate losing.
It's
losing.
all right. You're like 10-1, so I think you're good.
My ego, no. All right. Well, how'd you guys do on the card game? Did you win? Like drunken? That was a tough one. Good job. Besides the leaving the set symbol in on that one, you're a total idiot. For that,
yeah, pretty smooth, right?
All right, and with that, let's go to main phase 2.
Main phase 2.
All right, so main phase 2 this week, we're going to talk about some tournament results that have been going on. So it looks like there was a tournament from SCG, which is Star City Games, I believe. And there was a 5K online championship. So this took place with Historic, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on in the qualifying, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that. Let's check out the results and see what happened. So it looked like there's 151 participants in this. And
that's actually pretty low. That's not a lot, especially for an online event, because I used to play in these, like the real ones, where you go to like a convention center or whatever.
Yeah.
And there would be like, some of them would have like 1,000 people at them, or more. And so for 150 people, or 150 people to me just doesn't seem like a lot. But yeah, these, the decks are crazy though. Yeah. Let's go over this.
Yeah.
So find it.
Take it. Oh, you have. Oh, so looks like the winner right now is Jund Food. Took the title on this, which is what Jund Food is still winning in Historic? What the hell? How is that even possible? What is there any crazy new thing that they're running in here? Gigantha, the Goose, of course, the stupid Cauldron Familiar and Mayhem Devil, Corval. This is like the same exact deck as it's always been, which is just insane, basically, to think that this thing is still winning when it's almost the exact same deck that's been for what, like 6 months, 8 months, a year. I don't know. It feels like this hasn't changed at all since.
So it it has changed a tiny bit, but not a lot. And I will say, since this event happened, I've been seeing it a lot more, and I think it just has to do with the meta, right? Like the meta is kind of cyclical. You all right over there?
I spilled on me.
Nice. Yeah, the meta is kind of cyclical. So like, it's say Jeskai's on top this week. And so to fight that meta, maybe Jund is the right deck to fight it.
Okay.
Like it performs really well. And then eventually, people start playing more Jund, and then they find out, well, this deck does really good against Jund, like whatever it is, blue, red, something. And then, so that's what I mean by cyclical. So like, I don't think Jund ever really leaves. It just like rises to the top and then goes back down, because it's really easy to play against. Like, it's really easy to fight that meta. I mean, if you play the right deck. It's
super dirtily. It's probably next to like hardcore control, probably my least favorite deck to play against, because
it's the worst when they're like sacking and like ordering their triggers, but two, when they're just doing it as slow as they possibly can.
Oh yeah.
It's like their timer's like fucking timing out every time. I'm like, oh my God, like just kill me. You know, like most of the time at that point, I'll just concede out of frustration.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I agree completely.
I hate it. I hate that deck. Yeah.
So you want me to go over to deck number 2?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so deck number 2, this one's really interesting. It's Simic Merfolk.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, so this took second place. Surprise. And it's just a bunch of Merfolk. And I have seen this deck before, before Jumpstart, and it just wasn't great. But it still won games every once in a while. But this, it got second, and it's a pretty sweet looking deck. It's basically like a tempo style Merfolk deck. And it looks like it works really well. What do you think? Yeah, no, it's great. I am like blown away that this took second, because I haven't made this deck. We talked about, this being like becoming more of a competitive deck after Jumpstart came out, that this was going to be a viable deck finally after a long time. But I said, like, after it came out, it still felt like it was a little underpowered. And every time I play against this deck, sure, I've lost to it every once in a while, but I feel like the majority of time I destroy this deck. So it still feels a little slow. Yeah, it's got Collected Company to help it out. There is a lot of utility in in Merfolk, but maybe just these new cards that they have. This is what I was saying. Like Zombies is lacking the amount of utility they have. They have Land Walk now. They have Island Walk. That new God is super good. Very good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff, and it looks like they went with like a more aggressive version of the deck here. So. Yeah, I'm blown away that this took second, though. I mean, it's a good deck, but I didn't think it was tournament winning.
Sometimes it's just the people who pilot it.
That's true.
Like there's really good Magic players out there, and I'm sure Guillermo, Marham, whatever his name is.
I wasn't even gonna try that.
Did probably just an excellent job, and that was it. And he probably saw something that other people didn't. Like maybe this deck is really good against Jeskai control, which ended up being like majority of the decks played in this tournament.
Yeah.
And so that's how it was able to propel, because like the odds are, if you're playing, if there's 150 players and 50% of the decks are Jeskai control, or whatever, it was like 25 or 30%.
Yeah.
The odds are you're going to go against Jeskai control pretty damn often.
Mm-hmm.
And if this deck performs good against it, then you're in a safe space, I think that's probably what happened.
I think so too. He had a bunch of spell pierces and stuff in there, which is like just super punishing for Jeskai control. As long as you just hit the right things against them, you can really cripple that deck with counter spells. So yeah, that looked pretty cool. All right, what was next? What was number 3?
We have Orzhov Auras, this is just the Aura deck. We've all seen it before.
Another old
still
deck.
Good deck.
Yeah, still good.
But interesting one after that, number 4 is Abzan Humans. This is basically Hate Bears. Abzan Hate Bears, and I fucking love it.
I was playing this last week, actually. I just was short on a couple of the rares that this guy is using, but it's almost identical. He's using Kitesail Freebooter, which I was not using that. But he's got Esper Sentinel, Thalia's Lieutenant, Thalia, the Ranger Captain of Eos, the Elite Spellbinder, the Kitesail Freebooter, which is, I didn't think to do that. He's got 2 General Kudros, who's super good in this meta right now, being able to get rid of the graveyard, the Thabran Inspector, or Thurbrand, or whatever the hell. The Luminarch Aspirant, he's only run 2 of those, which is weird. And then you got that one giant killer is in there.
Yeah, right.
And then
that's funny.
And then it's weird because he's running this is Abzan, so he's running it looks like only for Collected Company to pull them out. And 2 Dire Tactics, which is super good too, being able to exile something. So yeah, this deck is super spicy. I like it. And then Yeah.
And after that, we got Jun Food again. And then after that, we have 4 Jeskai control decks. 4 of them in a row.
4 dirtly dirts, dude. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Super creative people right there. And then
and that's actually something I wanted to talk about when we talked about this, is just how many Jeskai control decks there are. Which I think, even though they didn't get first place, all 4 of these got back-to-back. They got 6th through 9th. It still has something to say about the deck. It means it's really good in the meta right now, because it is really good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a super safe bet. But it's also a good thing to look at when you go to build your decks going forward. Or like if you go to make a deck. Right now, the meta is Jeskai control. So that means if you want to win the meta, you either have to play Jeskai control and play some long-ass games, or play against the meta, which is possibly Simic Merfolk. So it's just that is probably a really good deck to get right now if you want to be playing, because we are Jeskai control very top heavy in best of 3,
or Jun Food, I guess, if you feel like
or Jun Food. I'm not kidding. I see Jun Food so much recently in best of 3. I've been playing almost nothing but best of 3. And that is like what I play.
There's a reason to stay away from best of 3 for me. You've said enough. I don't want to play again. I hate that deck. So let's see what else. This was pretty cool. There was Mono Blue Spirits at number 10. That is what the spirits. It's not just mono blue, like, hey, I play a 1/1 pirate and then counter everything. There's some legit spirits in here, like Supreme Phantasm and the Ascended Spirit. They got, of course, Brazen Borrower, of course, the Spectral Sailor. They got Rattle Chains in there though, which is really good. I love Rattle Chains in my spirit deck that I'm doing. I have a Azorius spirit deck, which is I love, and it's always good. It's never not been good. I go back to it a lot. And then of course, then it's got the normal like mono blue package with counter spells and Curious Obsessions and stuff. But interesting take on adding some spirits into that deck, I think.
I really like it. Anything that's like new and interesting, I'm always a big fan of. And the fact that they made top 10, it means something,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go much further than 10 unless you want to talk about humans or something.
I just saw a mono white humans one that I wanted to click on, but no, I think really we hit kind of home on here, which was looking at this meta, and Jeskai is top of the meta. And I don't think that's going to change with the introduction of Wild Hunt. I
actually, I wanted to speak to exactly that.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% correct. Like we just got a new set, which usually changes the meta a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think if anything, this set just made Jeskai Control even better. And I don't think it changes the meta enough, because now Jeskai Control has they have premium removal now with that white destroy spell.
That spell's real good.
Yeah, so they have single target creature removal, which is, instead of using something like a shock or whatever, now they can just actually destroy your creature, which is really good. So yeah, I think if anything with the release of Innistrad, is it Innistrad? Is it just released, right?
It's Innistrad, yeah. Wild Hunt.
Yeah, okay.
Or Midnight Hunt.
With the release of that, I think this is just going to get more powerful, unfortunately, and you're just going to see it more. So play against it, get Merfolk, or it's really good against Jeskai control, and you can see video of me on our channel. Enchantress, man, just whoops them. If they outvalues them, that's a butt. I'm slapping, I'm spanking their butts. That's what I'm doing.
Is that you clapping cheeks right there? So
yeah, that is, yeah. That's me clapping cheeks.
No one wants to see that.
Yeah. For you audio listeners, I had my butt in the air and I was actually clapping my cheeks. I'll do it again. Very good. That's my butt. Not really. It's my hands.
No one wants to hear that either. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I think this deck did get better. I think out of any of the decks in the format, I think this one probably gained the most just from that single card. But yeah,
nice, dude.
That is all I had to say about that.
Cool.
Got anything else?
No, I think that was it. So with that, let's go into our end step.
End step.
Every time I play that, the ice that I stand on with my girlfriend gets a little thinner.
Yeah, nice. Speaking of thin ice, so last week, I mentioned the sandwich thing.
Oh yeah,
my wife. And so I guess we're talking about other things outside the world of Magic or whatever, just other shit.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
So anyway, I left the room after the podcast, and she was like, "What do you mean I don't fucking eat sandwiches?" I was like, "Oh shit."
You got
I
in
am
trouble.
gonna get it. Yeah, I got in trouble. That's fine. Worth it. It's true though.
Did she eat?
She doesn't like sandwiches.
Did she eat one right in front of you? She's like, "What about this bitch?" And then just started eating one in your face, dude.
I was like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Let's go get a sandwich. And she's like, no, I don't feel like one right now. I was like, knew it.
You showed her, man. You showed her.
I know.
That's funny, dude. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to really go over here. Did you have anything else for this one?
No.
Okay.
I think I'm good, man.
All right, cool. Well, with that, then we will go into our cleanup phase.
Clean up.
All right, take it away, Drunken.
All right, this is our cleanup phase. This is a phase where we talk about all the places you can find us. If you aren't watching us on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube. We've added a lot more production shit through After Effects. I think everything looks a lot better now because of pre-production, because a lot of stuff Hoshi has done as well. You can find us on Discord. Our Discord channel is in the show notes. You can find us on any audio listening source you like iTunes. I don't even think iTunes is an Apple Podcasts, I think is what it's called now.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Music, like anything like that. I think even maybe I don't know.
Napster.
I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah. Jeez, Napster. I remember that. I remember.
Aging ourselves.
And if you haven't seen us live, you can find us on Twitch as well. So please just go into the description below and you'll see all the links to all of that, whether you're listening or watching.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that was our cleanup phase, and now with that, let's go into discard.
Discard phase. Drink 'em up, boys.
All right, so discard phase is where we just finish up our drinks that we've been drinking and just say goodbye to you guys. So with that, let's do it. Any sign-offs? Last minute sign-offs, Drunken?
Nope. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.
All right, yeah.
Listening.
Thanks for doing both, hopefully. And we'll see you guys next week on Mana Rant. And yeah, cheers. Peace out.